Welcome to MAP, the bi-weekly market access podcast hosted by me, Dr. Stefan Walzer. I am the innovator of Market Access 4.0 and a health economist by training and working in the fields of market access, reimbursement, pricing, and health economics since 2004. Discover Market Access 4.0 and unveil the future with our innovative solutions. Max Insights, our fast and easy AI-based reimbursement planning platform. Dobo, our new revolutionizing way of creating reimbursement dossiers across the globe with the first and only dossier writing AI bot. Cubo, our new AI-based objection handling platform. And Waffle, train with Waffle's virtual reality genius in an immersive environment and with an AI-based counterpart. We are Market Access 4.0. So check out our website, marketaccess4-0.com. And now let's dive into the current discussions, processes, and trends in market access across the globe. So welcome to another, I think, great podcast episode today with Market Access Podcast. And I'm very happy to have an Amazon bestseller author as a guest with Kasia Hein-Peters from the US. And today we'll speak about innovation and how to plan maybe for innovation, which is sometimes even a bit tricky. Not only, but especially also when we speak about MedTech. But before that, a big welcome, Kasia. And of course, quickly introduce yourself if people do not know you already.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for inviting me, and not for the first time on your podcast. It's really a pleasure. I am a physician by training. I spent my entire career in pharmaceutical and medical device industry. And since about 3 years, I have been working as an independent expert on innovation management and consultant, mostly with people, with the founders in and C-suite in the medical device industry, with focus on commercialization, but also a more broad process of entire process of innovation management. Hence the publication where I try to help everyone who is engaged in innovation, development, commercialization, to do it in a more systematic and therefore in a more successful manner.
Perfect. I mean, I think that sets already the scene for the next roughly 30 minutes. And of course, I was already quickly saying that when introducing you, I mean, you have written a really nice and I think really handy and useful book, which is called The Innovation Planner. Before we maybe apply that to the MedTech area where, I mean, as what you said, you were also, let's say, working the last couple of years. I mean, maybe firstly summarize quickly what the book is really about. I mean, I saw basically when started to read about it, that it's really a combination of, let's say, text and exercises. It's a learning piece of work. It's not just a book you basically take probably, let's say, before you go to sleep and just read a bit or learn as well, but it's really more to work with it, isn't it?
Yes, that's a combination of a planner and a workbook. And the idea behind it is that adults really learn by doing. So that's one insight from adult learning. And the second insight is that coaching is more effective than training. Mm-hmm. About 30% of people change their behaviors after a training and about 60% after coaching. Mm-hmm. So how to combine these insights into one? And I try to do it. I am, waiting for feedback from the readers. I'm very curious how it would work. But it is a planner where you can track your progress, both educational progress or your innovation projects with milestones. But every month includes at least one, if not more, articles about different aspects of innovation. And there are also exercises that people can do on their own. So once a concept has been introduced, there is an exercise or two to actually help you to apply this concept in your own work. And, because articles are short, if there is a need to get more knowledge about a specific topic, I provided QR codes throughout the planner that link with the online courses. And for people who purchase the planner, these online courses are free because I also provided redeem codes that actually make these courses free. Normally, they are not free. So I think all in all, it's a self-paced annual learning program for someone who would like to be more successful as an innovator.
This is brilliant. And I mean, it basically shows that this is probably as well one of the books which combines, let's say, the latest learning knowledge in a way. I mean, it's a hybrid kind of book. I mean, you said already, I mean, it combines the reading, the exercises plus courses. So it also depends a bit how deep, obviously, let's say a reader or an applier probably rather is and want to use the steps you have included, right?
Yes, exactly. And, it's possible that people want to do it faster than in 12 months. That's obviously, highly welcome. It's nothing prevents people from going, through the future months and reading and doing and going through courses. But if people who specifically, like us, we don't have much time, I think it's also in the recognition of the time that people are able and willing to spend on training during a year. So if someone buys the book and really goes through it over the next 12 months, it is relatively low level of engagement from the time perspective, but yet because of the combination of the articles, exercises, and online courses, I think it still provides a very decent learning exercise, a learning process for the readers.
That makes a lot of sense. So a couple of things now. I mean, you mentioned already, let's say the month, and the book is called Innovation Planner 2025. Yes, exactly. But I presume it might be rather something where people can now buy it in January, February, March, and still, let's say in the first quarter, probably then do their kind of, let's say, monthly exercise in a way, so they could really do it while they're on the job and maybe have a real innovation project on their table. So maybe try to get us through such a kind of cycle, which is probably the 12 kind of exercises and chapters in the book. But if I would, let's say, go back again and imagine I'm a medtech company owner, or I'm at least involved in that innovation process within a medtech company, maybe a smaller company, how would that book really help me?
I think there are several ways how it can help. First, it provides a framework. It is, maybe I should start from saying it's actually based on innovation management methodology by a company called Innovation 360 Group. It's one of the most systematic methodologies on the market, and also based on evidence that is found in the biggest database that they actually created of more than 10,000 companies from 100 countries. It's called InnoSurvey. And this database provides big data and correlations visible in the big data related to the ways why some companies are more successful innovating and other companies are less successful in their attempts to innovate. So, and this methodology is aligned with ISO 56000, which is the international standards for innovation management. So I think all in all, it provides a well-established international standard for how innovations should be managed. I think that's a big plus. It's not just my experience, right? It's something that has been is credible, has been verified, and it does provide framework for thinking about innovations along 3 horizons. Horizon 1 is the current business, and we need to innovate to improve our current sales. These are usually incremental innovations, so different improvements, and they are very important to grow sales here and now. But then the company that wants to be relevant in the years to come, it needs to look into the future. And here comes Horizon 2, which is the next big thing. And I think in our industry, we actually spent a lot of time on that because this is the next product that we will launch into the market. So I think our industry is generally relatively good in developing Horizon 2 products. But it doesn't have to be a product only, right? It could be a new business model. It could be a service, could be any other offering. So the book tries to broaden the scope of Horizon 2 beyond products, which is, I think, very typical for our industry. But then there is Horizon 3, and I have not yet seen a company that would be doing really a very good job with Horizon 3. Horizon 3 is about maybe things that will come a little further into the future, although it's not always a given. Like, the pandemic came out of a sudden. We didn't wait for it. But these are things that are uncertain right now. Horizon 3 are emerging technologies that are nascent technologies, or these are nascent market trends. And we need to be able to envision different scenarios, how they might possibly impact our business in the future. And companies who can manage Horizon 3 by gathering data, really trying to understand the market and really see where the market is going, these companies are much better prepared for the future. So the framework of Horizon 1, 2, and 3 it's actually at the beginning of the book. It's a very useful framework for any strategic planning for any company. And since the strategic planning, I know that it started last year, but the longer term strategic planning either starts now or will start in the next few months. So I think the planner will actually give a nice sort of introduction to your next strategic planning cycle.
No, absolutely. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it makes also a lot of sense when you speak basically about those three horizons, right? I mean, current business, I mean, especially if we speak probably with medtech or around medtech companies who have already product, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you need to have your current cash flow, because
Absolutely.
Otherwise you can also not invest. Whether you need investments, you basically invest your current, let's say, revenues into that future kind of projects. I think that's one thing. And then it's basically obviously more the innovation which one could foresee, right? The next level of product, version 2, or I mean, you see an unmet need area, right? Where you just say, let's go in there. Also quite clear. I mean, Horizon 3 is obviously much more difficult, even to envision. Would you have an example, more from a medtech or pharma perspective, that people could really see what a Horizon 3 innovation could really be?
So in Horizon 3, the idea is not to create the innovation yet. Because the future innovation is created in Horizon 2, but to gather data to inform Horizon 2. And a very good example for me is the quantum computing. It's a nascent technology. Yeah. It's not yet used by pharma or medical device industry, but we know that it's coming. And watching how this technology develops, and companies that watch it now, they will be able to use it faster than companies that are not really interested. And I've seen this and this is especially difficult with maybe smaller and mid-sized companies, because the resources are so much focused on here and now, and maybe the next growth with the next new product. And yet a company can be quickly outmaneuvered by someone who watches the new space that's emerging, and then is ready faster to start developing products or using this new technology for their own innovation solutions. And interestingly, Horizon 3 does not require a lot of resources. It does require someone who is dedicated, doesn't have to be full-time, but is dedicated to watching the new technology space, for example, and new market trends. And it just has to be included into the strategic planning every year. This input that the small team or a person keeps gathering from the market. Now, what we do in our industry, and that's a mistake, is we try to treat Horizon 3 like Horizon 2. And then we always eliminate innovations from Horizon 3 because they are not yet ready. So we kind of keep ignoring them if we deploy the same thinking as we do in Horizon 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's so difficult. They are certainly they are further away, and we don't know yet how helpful they will be. And then we try to put some probabilities on it, which are always wrong, because you cannot really predict the future. So instead, building some scenarios and say, okay, what if the quantum technology fulfills all its promises? Yeah. What does this mean for me as a medtech company? Am I ready for this future? What if the quantum technology does not fulfill its promises at all? Yeah. Right? How my future will look like under this scenario. And companies that actually plan based on these scenarios, they are much more resilient when it comes to the future. That's why scenario-based planning, with the inclusion of scenarios based on Horizon 2 and 3, is actually a more future-oriented way of planning. And as I said before, it just provides the company with the level of resiliency that maybe others don't have. So it is a competitive advantage, the scenario-based strategic planning.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think the quantum computing in general, I think is a very good example. I mean, at least most of the people know that there's something out there. A couple of more people basically know how it would more or less, let's say, change at least the way we would be thinking about computers and everything, every service and whatsoever. And then it's basically, so what if? And there are obviously different kind of scenarios. I totally agree.
I like to say that large language models were a little bit the same. I do not know any company that was planning for ChatGPT entering the market. Yeah. And then it entered the market and we had to regroup and say, oh, gosh, it's here. So what do we do? Yes. Right? We were actually, most of the people that I work with were actually surprised. And these are your top innovators.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because no one was thinking about Horizon 3, right? We only think about the market we know, and we notice trends in the market we serve, right? And that's not always the right way to plan.
I fully agree. I think the large language models at least surprised, I would say, everybody I was speaking to. And some are still surprised when we basically show them some of the AIs. Oh, really? This is what AI can already do? And I was just thinking, it is great, right, to see it, but it's no more that new, right? I mean, large language models are now really, let's say, trendy, and people basically know it since quite a while now, a couple of years at least, right? But still, you have that kind of thing. And obviously, it's probably also a bit of a human touch in here, right? I mean, Horizon 3 is very difficult to imagine maybe, right? And it needs that step further, right? It's not just your experience, it's really wider. So there are only few ones, right, who could maybe even do that. It's the same with some of the books look into the future. A lot is basically really based on the past, right, and how everything looked like. I mean, interesting one. It's not out of pharmaceuticals, but Back into the Future. I mean, the movie, right? I was watching that.
One of my favorites at the time.
I love it. And I firstly watched that with my son during our holidays. I don't know, 2-3 years ago, and it was basically, I think it was predicting in the movie, I think the year 2022 or 2020, the year we actually watched it. And my son, he was at that time roughly 14, so teenager. So I needed to explain it, right? There was still a phone. Yeah. There was no mobile. I mean, the television in a bit of a strange way, but you saw basically, because we grew up in that time, right? That was more predicting the future based on what we had at that time. Nobody could predict an Apple, an iPhone, the internet in a way, maybe, but the rest of it was rather, let's say, blunt. And that's probably very similar to where we are now, right?
Yes, and yet if there are people in the company who keep watching this a bit further and more uncertain space, they just keep bringing data into the company that just keep feeding into the strategic planning and these scenarios and understanding what could be. Because companies in general spend too much time and effort on what is.
Yes.
This leads to a lot of projects that support the current business but may have a lower value instead of thinking about what could be. And scenarios help to envision what could be. And again, we don't need to make, and then once we gather more data, once the trend or the technology become more certain, then we start acting upon it. But we are ready because we already gathered a lot of data. Yeah. Right. And it's already part of our thinking process.
Yeah, that's perfect. And a very important point here as well. I mean, we're now speaking a lot about, let's say, innovative products, etc., right? But I think the subtitle of your book is also future-ready skills. So this is also maybe something keeping in mind. That's maybe bring us as well a bit back into the market access area. And maybe the large language models are a very good example in here as well. So, I mean, we are now, obviously, we need some skills we have developed in the past for market access, right? Which is probably the experience how to handle, from an industry perspective, different payers, how to write it in that way, right?
Yeah.
The future part was maybe, and is still for some, how to best apply artificial intelligence and the tools with it. And then we need to think about the next step, right? Which could maybe be something like, I don't know, you need to submit a dossier written by AI automatically, and the AI of the payers are assessing it. So how would you envision a bit, just doing a bit of, let's say, applying some of the methodologies maybe into Horizon 3 for market access?
I actually think you gave a very good example. It's we already had a situation, maybe from slightly different, also healthcare, slightly different sector, actually payers, insurance companies in the US using AI to deny claims. Right? We've had a situation recently that ended very tragically, where the CEO of United Way lost his life because someone was very upset about the increase in claims denial and the way how they operated with the use of AI.
Yeah.
So the future, when AI writes something, another AI reads it and assesses it, I think it's probably closer than it's probably not even Horizon 3 anymore. Yeah. I actually would say it's probably Horizon 2, and we need to start getting ready for it. But I think that when I thought about market access specifically, I think that the way how we gather and analyze data based on these new technologies, for example, digital twins, in real world evidence gathering and clinical trials, I think this could be something that may change the way how we gather data. There are also non-technological aspects of the innovation management. I'd like to mention the fact that it is now proven that the crowdsourcing of ideas, for example, and opinions is very powerful. And we kind of always knew it, but it was too cumbersome to do it. But now we have tools, for example, some online tools where we can run, massive hackathons with people in different time zones and with different languages. And AI can consolidate these inputs into logical clusters based on keywords. So the strategy, trying to understand the market or create ideas doesn't have to be done in one room with a small group of people anymore. And this is the power of the new technology as well. And I think that applies to any aspect of the business. It does apply to market access as well. When we try to understand the market better, we try to create some innovative ideas how to proceed, maybe different from competition in some ways that will give us a competitive advantage. And also, the only fact that it's crowdsourced already gives perspective from diverse stakeholders. We can invite patients, we can invite experts, we can invite advisors, we can invite customers, maybe suppliers, and our internal teams.
Yeah. Which is another good point. I think I like also that idea with the digital twins, which obviously as well brings me back to, let's say, maybe as well a procedural kind of issue. I mean, if I would foresee, for example, and that's again scenario, right? But if I would foresee as a company that digital twins might be the future somehow in the development of evidence. So maybe just take real world evidence, right? Instead of RCTs, whatever, just real world evidence. And if I would envision that, in that way, I could maybe put some evidence together, for example, for a new ATMP, so for a new cell therapy, let's say, for a relatively small target population, which is obviously one of the targets, I would say, because it's very difficult to run larger trials in those populations, right? I mean, me as an industry or me as a company, I could probably do it, right? Because I'm in the driver's seat. But I would also obviously need to have that in my planning even a bit earlier, which maybe leads into the Horizon 2, I would say, that I would need to shape the whole environment, including payers. Because if I would foresee that and tech would help me and the process is still not there, that might be an issue, right?
Yes. And what I'd like to say is that there are ways to collaborate with the industry in what is sometimes called a pre-competitive stage. So if we are saying, there is a technology that can revolutionize how we do clinical trials. They will be cheaper, faster, yet with the same robustness of data that we collect currently. This is a pre-competitive stage, potentially for the industry and for the payers. And we could actually run some hackathons, including, competitors and payers and other stakeholders to actually figure out together what's the best path forward. Yeah. And once this, it's like early research. Early research is frequently a pre-competitive stage exactly. For pharmaceutical companies, right? We there are scientific grants. People develop early research, and then some of the results of the early research inform then unmet needs, drug development, etc. So I would treat it as a pre-competitive kind of early research into the technology and how it can be used. And this way, if payers are involved in this type of exercise, then I think it will be more likely that policies will follow once there is a better understanding what conditions have to be met for these technologies to be truly robust, to be able to maybe replace or complement type of trials that we are conducting right now.
Exactly. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, it just shows that the innovation planning is not just for the industry. It's basically for all types of stakeholders. But I mean, the examples which would have benefited in the past, probably for something like an innovation planning is full, right? I mean, we probably all have a lot of those. I mean, even some simple things like I can still remember, I don't know, nearly 20 years ago when trastuzumab, Herceptin, was firstly, let's say, launched in the adjuvant setting, which was a breakthrough, right? Hazard ratio, amazing, longer survival. It's basically curing kind of patients, right? But some healthcare systems would have still had problems to fund it in the first 1.5 years because they were not planning for the budget, which is a simple thing. But it's exactly that kind of problem, even Horizon 3. What if we suddenly get a cure of breast cancer? How the hell do we want to pay for that? Even if it's just, let's say, it's not the 100,000 of costs, where I think the value would be maybe even higher, right? But that's not the point. The price will be probably much lower because it's just a massive number of patients. But how would a system basically need to, or could that really finance? So that's already showing that. And I mean, payers, at least some payers I know, have applied that now a couple of years ago where they tried to find solutions. I'm not sure that they had, but they tried at least to find solutions when combining 2 or 3 really high-cost products together in oncology, where you then suddenly have an annual therapy cost of 1.5 or 2 million for a good number of patients.
That's true, and I think another good example is the genetic treatment.
Yeah,
that's already. I don't want to say that it has become mainstream. It has not, but it's slowly but truly there are more and more genetic treatments. So they are, on one hand, massively expensive. On the other hand, highly cost effective because they save lives at the early age, right? So how do you approach that? And this requires, I would say, some serious hackathon.
Absolutely, fully agree. I like that. So we're coming towards the end. Unfortunately, I have to say, I think there would have been probably even more topics and things to discuss. But what are the key 3 things you would basically give to one of the listeners? And obviously inviting all of them to really buy the book. But what are the key 3 things they should have in mind when thinking about innovation and for sure about your innovation planner?
I think we talked about one already, and this is a really good understanding of the market and placing these market trends or market forces along these 3 horizons. This combined with the scenario planning is a very powerful way and probably the only one to look into the future. So that's one. The second one we kind of mentioned about very inclusive ideation, when we try to figure out what to do in a situation when we have very complex and difficult to solve problems. Inclusive crowdsource ideation with the use of AI-enabled technologies to cluster inputs is actually very powerful. The third thing we actually didn't have a chance to talk about, and this is innovation capabilities. It's surprisingly, the main reason why companies do not meet their strategic goals is they may not have innovation capabilities. So assessing innovation capabilities, understanding strengths, and addressing weaknesses is also a very powerful way for the company to becoming more innovative. And when I say capabilities, I mean not only competencies, I mean capabilities at the organizational level. So these are competencies, these are processes, governance, systems for innovation management that are also changing, becoming more professional. And this translates into what I would call innovation IQ of a company, which can be measured. And what also can be measured, surprisingly, innovation IQ in different geography areas, in different departments. A company is not equally innovative everywhere in the world. And that's another insight, that companies who do it on a regular basis, assess their innovation capabilities, find out that they are not equally innovative across the board. So that's the third point I'd like to mention. And there's very rarely I've seen in the past that companies try to assess their own innovation capabilities.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I mean, I think that summarizes it a lot. And it basically shows that, let's say, those 30 minutes are by far not enough to basically discuss it. So I can only recommend, let's say, get out there and get the book. I think it's basically available at all of the quite well-organized bookshops in the world, or obviously also online.
It's on Amazon, but so this QR code here links with Amazon.com. But there are many countries that have their own Amazon pages. And if you have your own Amazon.de, Amazon.pl, for example, or any other Amazon site, this planner is available there.
That's very good to know. So not that somebody is going to their local bookstore.
No.
It's available on Amazon. And it's basically what I said early on. You're an Amazon bestseller author.
Yes.
So just get on Amazon and get the book. And so with having said that, I mean, Kasia, thanks a lot again for your time. And I'm looking forward to the future discussions.
Thank you very much. Me too. I'm looking forward.
Another great episode of the Market Access podcast, at least from my perspective. I mean, I loved the discussion with Kasia, also applying, let's say, innovation theory to market access and maybe even beyond. I think just seeing the three horizons kind of model with, I think when you think about market access, with the first part, which is really the actual current activities and services we're doing for market access, which is writing dossiers, negotiating with payers, analyzing data, building health economic models. Then the creation of that is really obviously before submitting, before negotiating, and also planning, for example, in the new phase 3 trials, the right kind of endpoints, for example, right? And that obviously, the third horizon would be really how would the future look like and how could that potentially impact our kind of living. And I think very important what she also said when thinking about the artificial intelligence and large language model technologies currently already available, start applying it. And I think that's really important. And we at Mars, that's a bit of the advertisement block this time, have obviously a couple of really great tools with Dobo, which is our AI, which is writing dossiers, so kick-start dossiers. We have an AI combined with virtual reality, which is helping companies to really deliver the right kind of messages to the employees. So it's being used with key account managers, with sales reps, but also, for example, when providing documents from a global to an affiliate level. And of course, we have as well a safe GPT, which is called Health Mind. So there are a couple of interesting, great tools already out there, which can directly be applied within the market access area. And ultimately, of course, besides the current kind of innovation process from a procedure, or let's say more from a mental perspective, the innovation capability is really important. So think about your innovation IQ. That was an episode of MAP, the Market Access podcast provided by Mars Market Access and Pricing Strategy, which is your healthcare consultancy in the German-speaking markets. MAP is available every second week with a new episode, so watch out. And in case you might have questions, contact me directly and or visit our website on www.marketaccess-pricingstrategy.de.